Hi everyone, welcome to the Happy Hour Rocket Show, New Options to Orbit. Let's address the elephant in the room, where some of you may be here for a happy hour. What that means is there are happy hours going on in and around us, so if you see one, you have to shout them down and get them over here. So that's the challenge.
No photos.
Hour or so.
No photos, please.
And if you are a happy hour that's near the Tech Theater, please put your hand up and let people know where they can come get drinks and support your business. So we are so glad that you're here today. So this is Ben Gamble. He is one of the moderators of the Astro Ben podcast. And I am Meredith Garofalo. You also might know me as Rocket Girl, and I'm the president of Rocket Girl Enterprise, but I have also been a broadcast meteorologist and space and science correspondent for the last decade and a half. So I want to introduce our fantastic guests. And again, if you want to go grab a drink real quick, this is a happy hour event. There's a lot of great businesses that will be having happy hours around. But we're going to go from, I guess, my left to the end. So we have Marino Fragnito from Aerospace. We have Pablo Gallego from PLDSpace. I know, I practiced these names 100 times. And then Stella Guillen, awesome, from Isar Aerospace SE. See, I'm 3 for 3.
Perfect. Can you say my name?
I said, Ben Gamble.
Easy.
It's so easy. And you going to try to say my name?
Garofalo.
Garofalo, very Siciliano. I know we've got the Italian booth over here. But we're really glad everybody's here today. And we're going to kick off things with, we're going to go through each of the speakers, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. So just very quickly, in case you don't know who I am, I'm not from the space industry, so I work in hospitality, so I guess that makes sense why I'm involved in a happy hour show. But the reason I started with the podcast was to connect with everyone in the industry, so it's great to meet different founders and people that work for different companies, and it's especially exciting to have 3 different companies represented here that are all from Europe, which is great. Europe. So let's dive straight in.
He did put Astro in front of his name, so I guess that makes him spacey, right?
Yeah, exactly. Astroben.com if you're interested.
Astroben, right?
I could read out. Do you want me to read out your bio, or do you want to just dive straight in and tell us a bit about yourself? And
yeah,
you've got about 6 minutes. No pressure.
Yeah, 6 minutes. I can.
Can we start the clock, please?
Maybe I need less time. So I'm Marino Fragnito. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer at AVIO, and I'm Launch Services Director. So I just recently set up the team to manage the launch services for the Vega rocket that you may know that was operated by Aerospace. It is actually still operated by Aerospace for this year. For the next 4 launches, then will be handed over completely to AVIO for operations starting from next year. And we already started commercial operations in September 2024. And the Vega rocket, I think maybe it is not so well known in the US, but we are now a bit more than a small rocket. We are like a mid-sized rocket. We can launch satellites in the range of 2 tons, 2-3 tons. So last launch we did was Sentinel-1C for the European Commission and Isar. It's a Copernicus satellite, which was previously launched by Soyuz. So it's the first time that we can lift it up with a European launcher. And it's okay. I've been in the launch, in the space industry for nearly 30 years now. I'm a PhD space science technology, worked on telecom satellites, launcher development, and EUMETSAT, the Organization for Meteorological Satellites, 9 years at Aerospace, and now AVIO.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Marino.
Thank you.
And next in the line of fire, we've got Pablo. So, Pablo, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, your company, your favorite wine. We were just talking about this earlier. So this is a happy hour event, right? We want to find out all the fun stuff as well.
That's very American. I love it.
That's so Americano.
So my name is Pablo Gallego San Miguel. I'm the oldest guy, I think, here, no? How old are you, by the way?
I was Italian, yeah.
Okay, we are competing on that. So I have the experience, in different companies. Actually, we were working together in the past. We worked for Aerospace in a given moment, together in SpaceX, and maybe in other places in the past because...
We are family.
Family.
Yeah.
So I love rockets, so I have to find a way to work with rockets, so I have to find a way to do rockets also in Europe. So that's the reason after working in Aerospace and SpaceX, I kind of got catched by the dream of two kids that they were trying to build a rocket in Europe, actually in Spain, something that is not very typical, and especially in the south of space, which has no too much tradition in this kind of industry. So crazy thing. I think we did crazy thing in the past in Aerospace, in Vega, and in SpaceX. This is another dream. So far, so good. The company is 13 years old. We start from scratch, no budget. Actually, the two founders, they were from the university. They were competing for, the leader rockets at the university. So they wanted to do something bigger. And they have a dream. And the dream was, let's do a launch service provider from scratch. In the time where SpaceX was kind of starting, and nobody was believing, I remember, in SpaceX, even when we joined. And now, I don't know how, time fast is very fast. We were able to build a rocket from scratch. We developed the engine from scratch. I think we have a great idea, or they have a great idea. I joined 6 years ago, so I can get some credit. And they decided from day one to build hardware. We like PowerPoint, but not too much anymore. So from day one, we have to test engines. So we are the first private company owning a test facility fully dedicated for launchers. So that's, I think, something that helped a lot to us. It's something you have to do at the beginning, test and change. So we have been doing that for a while. We were able even to launch 1.5 years ago. Actually, last October was the anniversary. And it happened. Maiden flight successful. It was a demonstrator for our technology. The technology is very traditional. We don't want to be very sophisticated. We just want to have a rocket that has a lot of reliability. I think the customer like that. If not, go to the others. But we like reliability. We maybe were lucky in doing the maiden flight successful. But I think it's because we are kind of following the traditional approach in testing on ground as much as possible, and even more, because we make many mistakes. And right now what we are building is we are testing the new rocket. It's called Miura 5. This is an orbital launch vehicle. This has a performance of 500 kilos in SSO, 500 kilometers, and we can go to 1 ton if we launch from French Guiana. We love French Guiana. We used to live there. We have many good friends. It's the best spaceport, I think, so far in Europe at least. But we need more. That's the reason that recently we announced another spaceport in Oman, in the Middle East. Very happy. It helped us also to have in the right moment another spaceport that we need for the ramp up. We have a limitation in French Guiana. We are pushing, I think, all together to launch more from there, but the limitation is maybe 10 launches for us. We are targeting 60 in the long term, but we have to demonstrate on the way that. And one of the demonstrators for us is the maiden flight, but especially the production and the site to be launched this rocket. So very happy to be here with all of you. That's all.
Thank you.
6 minutes? No.
Fantastic. So we've got
Past 6 minutes, but
Spanish.
I think we're bang on, to be honest. So we've got a 2 ton to low Earth orbit capability, 2 to 3 ton, and then a 500 kilogram to low Earth orbit. Is that what you're saying? 500 kilogram to low Earth orbit?
Yeah, to SSO. SSO, is polar. When we launch from Kourou, if you go polar, you have less performance. If you go equatorial, for the same altitude, we can get 1 ton. So please go equatorial and you get a better deal. And I think the others they can not do, sorry, sometime we are the best, no? You agree, no?
Of course.
Sorry for that.
Fantastic. And Stella, I'm not going to pronounce your surname. I'm terrible with
Guillen.
Guillen. There you go.
Guillen. Come on. Come on, Ben. Guillen. It rhymes.
Guillen.
Thanks for the invitation, and thanks everybody for being here. I was told it was a happy hour, so please grab a drink. I don't see anybody with a drink, but
Oh, we got somebody with a drink in his hand.
there we go.
Even that
Good.
country song for points.
So I will start with a personal note. Been in this industry very close to what Marino said, about 30
The same
years.
age, I think.
Yes, I know.
Very young.
It's hard to say. Plus 30 years and so, half of my career on the satellite operator side and the other half on launchers, selling launchers such as Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy and Ariane as well. And in these 3 decades, I have not seen what we see today. It's really exciting. It's the boom of creativity in the space sector. It's just amazing. The vast array of technologies that have been developed because we believe and we know how important space it is for our daily lives, for our national securities, for everything. So this actually, it makes me really excited about the future. However, I think we also have not seen in the last 30 years the dependency that we have today to get access to space. So if you think about, every minute of the day, launch capabilities are stronger in countries such as Russia and China. And in the US, we are dependent on one sole launch service provider. So when our founders at Isar Aerospace realized that launch capability and launch is a bottleneck, this is when they said, holy macaroni. No, they didn't say that.
Oh my God.
Something I would have said.
German.
Actually, but
It was in German.
yeah. They said, how difficult could it be to make this possible, right? So they had to do something about it, and they had to do it fast. And how do you do it, right? How do you do fast? So the focus, and the reason why I'm telling you all of this, is because I wanted to get the sort of flavor of Isar Aerospace. The DNA that we have is very much focused on industrialization. So everything that we do, what we did from the very beginning, from a blank piece of paper, was thinking on reliability and get as fast as possible to the market to provide launch capability and launch access for all of you and all your payloads. So it just happened that we realized there was not much structure in Europe to build from. So we had to build it from basically blank piece of paper. So we decided to do it ourselves and to move the technology development ourselves. So we built a factory. It couldn't be just any factory. We had to make it a factory that is scalable, a factory that can actually change with the demand of the market and with the new technologies. So we created this, we designed to build and operate our factory, and we built everything in-house. This factory it's beautiful. It became a little bit small, actually. Great prototype for learning a lot on how to do industrialization. So we're actually in the middle of building a much larger factory in Munich, very close to Munich, that is going to be about eight times larger than the one we have. Okay, so we had the factory. Then we have to design, build, and operate our launch vehicle, Spectrum. It's about 1 ton to LEO. 9 engines on the first stage, 1 engine in vacuum on the second stage. We use liquid oxygen and propane. And it's actually standing at the pad at the moment, ready, waiting for, I know Jeff is going to ask me that question later, so I'll already answer it for him. We're ready anytime, Jeff, waiting for license to go up. So we also had to design and build and operate our testing facilities because we didn't have any structure in Europe to build or to have a testing facility, and we didn't want to depend on suppliers or, area where we have to ask for permissions, etc. So we built a testing facility in Sweden. And we are now about 400 employees, about 50 plus nationalities, great people, very, very capable, and very excited about the industry. Like I said, we are ready, but remember, we did this in a very, very short time. So when we got our first 10 million and we were able to decide to really, we were going to go ahead and do this, was 2021. So 2021, we designed and built a factory and operate a factory. We designed and built two testing facilities. We designed, built, and operate the launch pad in Norway. And of course, Norway only goes to range of orbit, so SSO and polar, so we had to secure another launch pad in Kourou to be able to do equatorial and low inclinations and mid inclinations. And now we are ready for launch. We're ready for launch. We're ready to take your payloads. We are ready to have the conversation, so please find us. We want to make sure that this capacity to space is available for all of us, and we're not dependent on nations or sole providers. Thank you so much for having us.
Fantastic. So, yeah, lots of questions. I think we'll probably go down the line and ask individual questions first, and then we'll open it up to the floor. Marino, so how long have you been working for AVIO again? How long have you been there?
6 months.
I was going to say, because it was you joined just before the
startup.
Yeah, you joined just before the Centaur launch in December.
No,
right?
I've joined AVIO in September 24. But I had been previously at AVIO between 2003 and 2008, and I worked on the development of Vega. So I was heading the mechanical systems development of launcher, and I wrote the general specifications. So pretty much what Stella was saying, I did it in 2003, and it took time to launch Vega. We also started from scratch, maybe you can remember that. Because in Europe, we only had Ariane, was the only launcher. Only France had the capability to launch satellites to space, and not only satellites. So we worked, I worked between 2003 and 2008 on the launcher development, and then it took a bit longer to go to the qualification flight. I actually left before the qualification flight, which was in 2012. Between 2012 and 2024, Vega has launched 22 times, 20 times successfully, and it has delivered a bit more than 120 satellites to orbit. 4 satellites for the Copernicus constellation. We have launched satellites for Taiwan, Thailand, US, Morocco, Israel, Turkey, and many other countries all over the world. Our customer base is mainly institutional. So what many people don't know, actually, that we have won many satellites in open competition against SpaceX. We're going to launch, actually Aerospace is going to launch this year with our rocket 2 satellites for Korea, 2 very big satellites, 2 tons each, and government satellites. And so, Vega is, I think, I would not call it a workhorse, because we always call the small launcher, but we actually launched 3-ton satellites, and we're still a small launcher. So maybe we still need to grow up a bit, but we think that we have a sweet spot on the market. That's why we won many satellites in open competition to SpaceX. We have a good price point, lower than SpaceX for this class of satellites. We don't do much small sats because SpaceX has actually killed this launch market of small sats. They are the only one they can do small sats at that price. Nobody else is so crazy to go on that market with that level of price. It's a pity, but at the same time, it allows a lot of new space to develop. So it's a good thing for humanity again, but not for companies like mine to compete. What else? We have plans in Europe. It's a very interesting period in Europe because you probably heard that due to the geopolitical situation all over the world, also with the U.S., we have to start running. With our shoes, and we're investing a lot of money now. Our European Commission and all the institutions have decided to put a lot of money on defense spending. And my company, luckily, we also work on defense program, because otherwise I have to say that it will be very hard to survive only with rockets, with launching satellites. So we also have a company here in the US working on the defense business. And in Europe, recently European Commission announced 800 billion investments in the next 5 years. So I think it's good to do business in Europe at this time. I've heard, at the conference a few weeks ago, the CEO of Rocket Lab saying that Europe looks like the US in 2015. It is probably true, except that I think that, I'm very happy to hear what Isar Aerospace is doing. I think they will succeed. They will succeed because they have a strong industrial project. They are backed by Germany. They are backed by Europe, because we need more access to space. With more options for access to space. We definitely need it. So we don't see them as it's a competitor for sure, but we think that it's a good thing for Europe to have more options to go to space. If I have to just find one problem, one difficulty we have at this time in my company, is that we are very limited in launch rate, in cadence, and this is the problem we have. This is why we cannot really compete with SpaceX, and I think that this is the result of a lack of ambition that Europe has had in the last 20-30 years. Really lacked ambition. And so we need big projects, we need ambition, we need to try harder and to try to do bigger things.
It's exciting. So Pablo, the title of this is New Options to Orbit. Do you feel like, you just said you've seen the way things have changed the landscape with the space industry over the last several decades. Do you feel like all of these new options are a good thing? Do you think it's going to drive up competition, or do you think there could be an issue with too many options to orbit in the coming years?
I think it's good for the customers, so we are very happy for the customers, and we are very happy to compete. I think this is the only way I think we can do something in a commercial way. We like the institutional, but we look more long term. We are looking for the commercial. We are competing with at our level. We are humble, but we are not afraid about thinking in the future. So we already have a product that we are selling, which is Miura 5. But I think during the anniversary of the company, where we inaugurate our new factory, beautiful. Now we can produce 10 launches per year. So we announced also the new development. We are not afraid about saying in public that we are already targeting the same capacity, at least SpaceX. Yes, we are competing. It's not the moment, no? We are following the path a little bit. We are very happy that we have customers coming to us. They are really interested, and they are requesting also this other option. It's not only us, and I'm very happy that there is competition. We demonstrate something that investors, they love, reliability and cost, to develop, the demo launch. We did that with less than 40 million, which in Europe is a joke. I don't know how much is here, I know, but it's also a number that, investors, they like. When the customers, the investors, and the general public come to see our factory, see our video, the maiden launch, successful, they see there is something there, and they invest. And this is the way I think competition should be done. We want to have customers. That's the reason we always ask, even the government, don't pay us the development, buy us, capacity. We take responsibility. We do not commit with what we are request. We pay back, or we say bye-bye. But I think we need to push in the commercial way. And the company is fully pushing on that, and I hope, customers, and we see that. We have a funnel of 900 million of euros in customers that are ready to launch with us, pushing to be on time. That's the reason we are pushing to be launching end of this year from French Guiana. Very proud.
Awesome.
Fantastic. We've talked about the sort of the European synergy, obviously. Perhaps, Stella, you've been in the industry for a few years. What market shifts have you seen in Europe, and how is Isar going to be competing for that market share?
Let's see. Market has changed. If we're talking about 30 years, a lot, obviously, and it's basically due to actually having access to space through SpaceX, right? They really did change the market a lot. I think the geopolitical situation and the uncertainty of how international relations or unpredictability of the international relations in the world is going to probably shift things again. So in terms of market, the small satellite market, obviously, it's been booming for a while now. So I think that trend will continue. The bigger satellites will become probably bigger as we see bigger rockets coming on in play. But the small satellite, I think, is a very, very healthy satellite. For us, I think the way we take on the marketing is very much having control of cost. So this is the whole reason why we do what we do and the way our DNA works, right? We want to have control of quality, we want to have control of cost, and we want to have control on time. It's important for the market. Those things have not changed. Reliability is still number one, right? I mean, you guys will probably agree. You want to build so that you build reliably. And that is where you need industrialization. This is where we made the investment. Cost is still an issue because you have a player that has dropped costs tremendously, so that it's obviously helped the market booming, but now everybody else is struggling to meet those prices. And time, right? You want cadence. When Marino said that they're struggling with cadence, you need to have cadence, and it's important for the customer. When you want to have it also in the right orbit, right? You want to make sure that your satellite, you're not just building for a typical orbit anymore. The market, I think, and you guys are the ones, the experts on the payload, but you have your ideas, you have your technologies that you're developing, and you want to go a specific area. So that's also important. I think we are in a good place to offer all of that and to be able to be the leaders on that market. I think our spectrum, our vehicle is very flexible to be able to do that. And another thing that is going to come into the market is rapid response, right? Everybody talks about being resilient and all of that. So that's also going to play. So the way you build and you manufacture a rocket is going to be crucial for how you actually interact with the market and change the market to be able to launch quickly.
So I think for the next round of questions, anybody can answer, or all three of you can answer if you feel passionate about it. So I want to start off, we talked about how you have so many of these bigger companies that are dominating, they're getting out there, like you were mentioning about the small sats with SpaceX. What is the benefits of going with companies such as yours over maybe the ones that are more widely known across the United States?
Oh, besides us, you mean? Besides being like cool and I think
right and honest and enjoying being here for a half hour. Exactly.
Customer service. Actually, I mean, joke apart, customer service is a big deal, especially now in the market. That's another trend, and I think you guys, all of you, can attest for customer service when you go to the main players out there. I'm not going to name any names. But customer service is a big deal. With that comes customization, right? So I think the type of vehicle, the flexibility of the vehicle is important because again, you want to make sure you go where you want to go, right? And you want to be able to choose. Do you take a taxi? Do you take a bus? Do you take whatever? I mean, that's customization. It's a great part. So I think again, Isar Aerospace is in a great position. We have the experience. We have the talent. We have the technology. We have a way of actually responding to the market and understanding the market. And I think we are in a good position to lead. So, yeah, great answer.
I think you say everything. Maybe I say something just to say. I mean, customer service. And they look, I was customer also in the past, no? You want to be on time, you want reliability. And you want to have a backup. And to be honest, if I were a customer, and I want everything for me, I understand that the customer will have a second option or a backup option. So that's the reason I think even in some project with Aerospace, we have an agreement even to serve, the commercial market. Even now with Ariane 6, in the past also with Vega and Soyuz. I think this is happening. Customers are requesting to have, reliability, but they are requesting to be on time. And to be honest, you need to have, if you have a business case that is very depending on time, that I think everybody has that as the goal and reliability, you need to have a backup. So backup is between us and the famous players that we know. And not everybody can do the same job. So sometimes to find a backup is not easy because, for instance, we can reach an orbit that I think maybe not everybody can reach. Sometimes it's only 2. So the options are very minimal if you want to have a professional business case, which is happening now. SpaceX is launching many satellites. Some of them, to be honest, are in the startup mode, testing, and we love that. It's like us. And some of them, they will succeed, and they need to be on time, and especially, for instance, in a constellation. So that's where they need all of us. I prefer everything for me, but we need to deliver on time this constellation with several rockets. So this is happening. We receive that input from customers. That the reason we make even our rocket just to make sure this happen, no? Not only with one option that things happen.
Okay, so the question is why a customer should come to see us rather than SpaceX.
And we've heard there are so many companies, right? Everybody hears, everyone talks about all the time, but we've got companies like yours doing amazing things. So why look at a company like yours?
Yeah, so I've been a customer to launchers. I've known Stella, she worked at SpaceX, I was a customer. When you're a customer, you want to have multiple options. You don't like monopoly, You don't like just one option and you're obliged to take the price that this option gives to you. So every customer looks around for any option on the market. The problem we have had in the last years that we had only one option most of the time, which was SpaceX, because it was a very specific period of time in which Europe, we had a transition phase in Europe between Ariane 5 and Ariane 6, between Vega and Vega C. We had embargo for the Russian rockets, so Soyuz out of the market. PSLV, honestly, I don't know why they are not able to ramp up. They don't launch a lot. They have institutional launches. They are not on the market. So basically, there was only one option. So if we win a launch, if we win a customer, it's not because the customer likes to come to see me because he likes my face. It's because he likes my price. He wants to go to the right point, to the right orbit at the right time. If I can offer this service at a better price than SpaceX, he will come with me. Otherwise, he will go with SpaceX. I mean, no question. So, reliability is one point, but reliability today for a customer, it's also in the price, because it's the price for the insurance. I mean, this is for the way I see it. I mean, for me, reliability of our rockets, Vega, and Vega C, we have had 3 failures, unfortunately, in the last years. We have had 14 launches without one failure. The first 14 launches was the first time in the world. We had a perfect reliability. Then we have had some problems when we tried to ramp up with the number of launches, because it's not easy. It's not easy to ramp up. Even if you design to do many launches a year, but it's always difficult, because one space launch is not easy. Nobody can do it easily. Even SpaceX, when they ramped up, they had a couple of failures during the first 20 launches, exactly like us. So space launch is difficult. Reliability is a problem, is a cost to the customer. The customer will always choose the best option for its satellite. That's why I said we have a sweet spot around 2 tons, for which we are better than SpaceX, because we can accommodate the satellite between 2 and 3 tons for a better price than SpaceX. That's why customers come to see us. No other reason.
What other considerations do you think there are? Because I feel like it's like if you're buying a car or anything, it's not just the price, it's also your sort of the preconceptions of the brand.
You don't buy a rocket because of its color, you know. You don't put options like air conditioning or this kind of things. No, you just want to go to orbit.
True, but as the space economy is growing exponentially and more people are going to want to put things in space, you're going to get people that are just they're going to go on Google and they're just going to see the top ones. So how do you raise that public awareness?
No, I don't know if I got it, but I want to add one point. That exactly for the reason that in the last 2-3 years there was only one option on the market, customers are desperate to find alternative options to SpaceX. So the problem we have today is that we cannot offer enough launch options and launch opportunities because of the reduced cadence that we have.
I agree with that. That piece I do agree. I mean, that's, I think, like I said, dependability, it's right now at its peak. And we're here, I think, to change that, to provide more choices. It depends on the type of project where the weight of what the customer is looking for. So some will weight reliability more than timing, and some will weight more pricing than reliability. And, there are different combinations. I think the main point is to actually have flexibility and be able to, and I agree, Marino, it's not easy to get to the cadence, but this is exactly why when you build something, you have to have that in mind. Because what we did in the past is we didn't need it, right? We were not thinking we can launch every week 30 years ago. We were thinking we can launch 5-6 times a year. So when you build something new and you build it differently and you build thinking that you will launch every day, that you create more of an airline kind of way of thinking, right? And that's different. And that's the change, for example, that we bring to the table, because I think that we are doing it more for today's needs and with the thought in the future where we need to also understand how things are going to change in every aspect, right? Technology changes, market needs will change, and political situations will change. So something that is flexible is what will attract, I think, customers.
Yeah, but I have to say something. When we designed the Vega rocket, I was there at the time working on the development. Our ambition, that's why I'm saying Europe lacks ambition, has lacked ambition in the last 20, 30 years. When we designed the Vega rocket, we were targeting a cadence of 1-2 launches a year. Why? Because the small sat market did not exist. When I left a telecom satellite company to go to work on the Vega projects, my colleague said, "You are crazy. The small sats do not exist. We don't need a rocket to launch small sats." So that's why we designed the rocket to launch 1-2 times a year.
But
very
you
low
have
cadence.
A chance again, huh?
But if you design a rocket to launch 50, 100 times a year, if you don't have a Starlink constellation to launch, it's a very risky approach. Because if you don't launch 50, 100 times a year, your cost infrastructure, which is sized for 50, 100 times a year, will be a fixed cost on your business case. And if you end up launching 2-3 times a year, you will have a huge problem. So in Europe and in my company, and at the time, we were much risk adverse. So we have designed the rocket to launch less time in order to be sure that if we launch 2-3 times, we don't lose money. My company is a listed company. You can see the accounts. So it's no mystery. Nobody knows the accounts of SpaceX, even launching 150 times a year. Our accounts, everybody knows. So we didn't take risk. I agree. But the problem is that if you size your rocket to launch 100 times a year, you have to be sure that you can feed it. You can feed it with 100 launches.
Yeah, true. But also it's a mindset, right? You react to the market or you are proactive to the market. It's two different styles, right?
All right, Pablo, go ahead, hop in.
No, yeah, I totally agree. And I think you were visionary because the maiden launch of Vega that we were together, it was full of CubeSat. So very clever. Nobody was believing on the CubeSat, Vega a little bit, and I was pushing for that. And I think, little things make big things. So little things like CubeSat, create Planet Lab, how many companies are in this. And I heard the same thing before. There is no market for Vega. I was there when that happened. There is no market for, and now you have to say the same thing. There is no market for PLD, especially.
I would ask a question. Why is there a market for small sats today? I can answer this question. Because there's a price of $6,000 per kilogram. Otherwise, this market would not exist. Most of the new space companies would not exist.
We should ask everybody here because that's, I think you'll get.
I think
right.
And so this is the problem. Why? I mean, and if you take the number of launches of SpaceX, you take out the Starlink launches, and you think that Europe was not there at the time. So you see that this market is not so huge to have many launchers launching 100 times a year. So I mean, we'll see what happens.
But you don't think that you're enabling a market by doing it differently?
Sorry?
You don't think you're enabling a market by doing it differently?
You're enabling a market if you have a price of $5,000 a kilogram. And I cannot do that. I cannot do it. Nobody can do it. Even SpaceX cannot do it. I mean, they do it at loss. And my company cannot work at loss. So, I mean, you can enable the market if you have a price of $5,000, but then you lose money.
Yeah, Marino, with the way you're doing things now, of course not. But this is why we have to think about different ways to do things, right?
Yeah, but the problem, the technology is still the same, gravity is still the same. You have to win gravity to go to space. Right. And so the cost is not going down. So this is all bullshit. When you hear launch cost is going down, no, it's not going down. My launch cost is going up because we have inflation, because the supply chain is always asking for more money. So my cost is going up. Of course, if we launch more times, I can reduce the fixed cost.
I think we're getting to the point where we're going to need to have some questions. This is a great discussion.
No, but I have a provocation from this guy. He said bullshit. And you know what is the logo of my company, eh?
It's a bull.
It's a bull.
It's a shit.
Well, this is a happy hour after all.
And the name of my bull is Lamborghini. No, Miura. So you give me a Lamborghini and I don't go to jail with you.
Okay.
So
if somebody gives me a pair of Prada shoes, then we'll keep moving this conversation.
Very, very bad.
For Stella too. All right.
Should I sue him or you were there, no? How much money I can get?
All right. Well, I think we want to get to some of the questions from the audience. We have about 15 minutes left. And so if you do have a question, please come up to the microphone. It's right here in the center, and ask your question. We'd love to hear what kind of is going on in your mind with this great debate and the questions that have been coming up right now. And I'm sure there are some people in the audience that want to kind of join the conversation and have some questions for our fantastic panelists. And please identify yourself, your company, and then your question.
Okay, I work for Lockheed Martin about 34 years. I'm retired now, and I have my own consulting company. In Lockheed Martin, I supported Atlas V vehicle. I was working for that program starting from beginning. So in the booster, I was involved, and RPS-1, LOX, everything. And you're talking about SpaceX and ULA and all that. Atlas V became ULA. I continued Lockheed Martin. But anyway, question is, the cost-wise, you know, relativity space, you know that. So they did everything 3D printing, right? My question is, are you doing anything like that?
Can I say, I love that question. Somebody asked me, they changed the way they produce, they saw today the production in a nice video. I love the company, I love the people involved, and we are not doing the same thing. To be honest, they came back to do the same thing we are doing. I think they realized, and it's public, no, that going very high-tech or very 3D printing or even carbon fiber, they came back to aluminum, iso-grade. You see the production of the way we do from day one. I don't know if we were very clever or we didn't have so much money. So you have to be, that's the good thing of the company I work is we didn't have too much money. So you have to be more, I don't say clever, more agile to find ways to do things. So our rocket is very big, but has less performance than when you compare with this nice rocket because we are more traditional. So I love the question. And I love the project you were before.
I also asked the same question to ULA and SpaceX as well. You have to get in 3D printing. That's the way to do it nowadays. And again, in Atlas Pi, I worked on, you know, I mean, I can tell you 50,000 gallon LOX and 25,000 gallon RP-1. It's in the internet, you can get it too.
Perfect.
We use RD-180 engine, you can get in internet as well. So your engines are cheaper than RD-180? Talk about that.
Can you give me the price? That's the problem.
I want to ask Russian people for that, you know, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. The problem is you buy, but then what control you have?
We control that in Atlas 5.
But,
there are so many RD-180 we bought.
In the good time, but now can you put the same engine and call the other side and get the feedback on, you know, 0. So this happening because what happened now, but it's happening also in the same country.
Yeah, but you are talking about SpaceX doing so much.
We are talking about PLD.
We have some more questions we want to get to.
Sorry.
Thank you for your question. We have on the line
I
starting.
like the way you control.
Thank you. Thank you. Next.
Sorry.
Hi, I'm George. I'm a space economist. I'm here because I really loved this. This is so much fun. You guys are a lively, spicy panel, which is all we can ever ask for. So my question is, as an economist, I love the talk about spreading out fixed costs. I love the talk around the realities of transparency around costs and also the reality of the rocket equation and gravity. I think those are all good points for my next question, which is, how do each of your companies enable space infrastructure? And I'll define that. So when we talk about space infrastructure, we're going to talk about things after LEO, right? And if we're talking about LEO, we're talking about replacement and commercial space stations. How do you see each of your companies accessing that market, or is that not a target market for you? Thank you.
Great question. Thank you.
So right now we are super focused on first launch, and actually our vehicle is on the pad right now. We have number 2 and number 3 already under production. It's something that we need to think about. That we do think we have so many ideas, so many ways of actually reaching out and creating more of a space economy in the long term. So stay tight because there are some things coming up. But right now, to be honest, our focus is to get to launch and to get to that cadence that we so much need to provide access to space.
Yeah, so I think this is a good question. And for the same reason, I said several times, we lack ambition in Europe. And every time we talk about launching cargo, launching astronauts, we have a lot of resistance from even the, industry leaders. Because there's a lot of risk involved. So I don't know if Europe is ready to work on an astronaut program, for instance. But for sure, we have programs for LEO cargo resupply for space stations. and we have startups, and we are working, also my company is working with some startups, with some projects to have cargo, to have capsules, re-entry. We actually launched in 2015, you may not know, because I know that many things we do in Europe are not well known in the US, but we launched a re-entry vehicle in 2015, which was called IXV. We recovered the engine in the Pacific Ocean. And we're going to launch a mission which is called Space Rider, which is a space vehicle which is going to stay in space for 3-4 months and then come back. It's a space plane. And so we're doing things. The problem is this market is not yet there. So the problem is that you have to take a lot of risk because you're coming probably too early on the market. This is true for in-orbit resupply. This is true for in-orbit service in general. It's true for re-entry missions. It's still an institutional market. Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to find commercial customers. You can find some, pharmaceutical companies who want to experiment in space, but the price level is so low to build a business case today. So very difficult.
So we saw the market. We announced even that we are launching Astronaut. We presented that last year during the anniversary. So there will be Miura Nest, and on top of that there will be an option to launch Astronaut. Target time is 2030. So we are pushing. We are 320 employees now in the 30. We are welcome. We are looking for astronaut. And we present already. We test already. We have already a structural model. You are welcome to test. We have already some astronaut giving feedback. We are going to do a drop test on this capsule in the coming year. And then we have to do all the process. It's not easy to be especially ready for launch astronaut, but we have to do it. And the way we do is from now, because you have to be ready to build a rocket that can hold that. You have to be ready to be safe. So we are working from day one in the safety way to escape. So that's the reason we are doing this escape test. So it's super fun. It helps us also in the process of developing even Miura 5. With Miura 5, we can even test the safety ejection of the system. So I think market is there. They are calling us other, space stations that are trying to build. And we are trying to be compatible with all of them. And they are pushing. They want other options. They can launch with the one So we see a market. And we don't understand why the other they don't announce. I think we are holding to do things on time. Maybe we see more, in the long term, and we want to spread that.
Fantastic. I think we've got another question.
So real quick, thank you for your business. So we're actually growing. We're a U.S. company, Ensign Big for Aerospace and Defense. We're actually working with these folks building their new rockets. So thank you for the business. Real quick, do you believe that the launch site capacity is going to basically hinder your growth at all? I've heard anecdotally that Carrillo can only launch so many rockets per year. Maybe that's like 12 of maybe an Ariane 6. That only leaves about maybe 6 for you guys. Do you see that being besides Norway? But maybe that's part of the plan. But I was just curious if you saw that maybe throttling your growth. So.
Yeah, sure. I think that, it's funny, we get a call almost every day on new spaceports coming around the world, and I think there's a market that is it's coming up, which is the spaceport market. I think it has to do, well, not only with cadence, but also security, right? We're very vulnerable, and the spaceports can be at risk at any time, so having the capacity of being able to fly from different places is important. We made a decision to do our first 2 pads almost right away to be able to also handle all kinds of orbits, and that's another issue as well. So it depends on where you want to go and what market you want to reach to. It's important to have the capacity of being able to reach all orbits. So I think it is a market that is coming up, and I think it's needed because, like I said, vulnerability on security and everything else, it's an issue, and it will be an issue. Yeah, could be.
Yeah, for us it's key, and I think it's very clear there is a limitation in French Guiana, at least for us. We have a number of, I think, no more than, 10, and we want to make sure we can launch, the quantity we mentioned, 60. So we already have another spaceport. We recently announced Oman, and we are very open telling that we need another one. And that one will be announced, I think, beginning of next year. I'm the one traveling more to these sites, beautiful, nice places, and normally the people that work in these places are like us, I think, very passionate. They believe in doing something that helps everybody, so go for that. We visit Norway, we visit Shetland, we visit Japan, all over, and we want to make sure we know what's going on, because customer will say, I want to launch from here, and we can do it. We need time, but not so much if you have done already in several places.
Great. Do you want to add? And then one more question.
Maybe let's have the other question, yeah.
Okay. Our last question.
Hey, Pablo.
No.
How you doing?
Hola.
Robert Perez. I am the DoD Defense Innovation Unit. We report direct to the Secretary of Defense. I know Pablo, and I know Stella, too. And that's
Marino.
one of the beauties of being
Nobody
in
knows
the
Marino.
AVIO.
No, Marino.
I'm sorry. I'm going to get to
Now you know
That's okay,
Marino.
that's
You're
okay.
good,
Exactly.
You can attack him, It's okay. He like it.
So, as part of the DoD and part of the Defense Innovation Unit, one of the things that we do is bring commercial companies to help with our mission areas in the government. That being said, one of the things that I'm trying to do, that we're trying to do, is create partnership with companies outside of the United States, specifically for launch vehicles. Now, that being said, for you, individuals, what do you think, from your perspective, are the mission areas, are the most important thing that the government is looking at to help support our launch vehicles? And secondly, what are you doing about scalability, which is another thing that we are looking at, that rapid responsiveness to get vehicles in space? I leave it to the floor.
We have about 2 minutes, so everyone can answer as they...
Sure. I mean, I think scalability, again, it's part of who we are. I mean, this is why we design and build everything that we are doing. I think that on the government side, I mean, the U.S. government is the largest market right now. The second largest being Asia as a general region. So then, it's important to be able to have the U.S. market, government market support for us as well. And I think it is important for the U.S. government to have resilience and have the choices around the world to be able to launch whenever. I think the scalability point is key also on the way you build to be able to quickly respond and quickly launch. The type of launcher you have, the type of how you build your launch sites, and make sure that it is in a way that is quick to operate and respond. So yes, extremely important for us. We have a rapid response or resilient space in mind for sure to be able to target that.
Marino, did you want to?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know each other, but I'm surprised you don't know my company, because we have a subsidiary here in the US.
You don't want to talk with him.
Okay.
He's bullshit. No.
Be serious.
Hey, we got a minute.
1 minute. 1 minute. So we have a subsidiary here in the US, and I'm a bit surprised by your question, because our subsidiary here is a bit segregated from our company in Europe, even if I'm the chief commercial officer for the group. And I'm surprised because we find it very difficult to access the DoD market in the US, being a non-US launcher. So we will be very happy to launch from US soil. Maybe that will happen in some years, or maybe even earlier. But it's very complicated to work across borders, especially in this geopolitical situation today. So I'm very surprised by your question. I mean, what I see now is that we are really, Europe is Europe, US is the US, US rockets for US and European rockets for Europe, which is not good in my view. We have other organizations like NATO, who are probably looking for more broad solutions all around the world or among the allies. But I don't see how a European company can access DoD launches. It's not possible at all at the moment. I'm not sure it will be possible in the coming years.
Well, I can tell you right now that is what you're saying is not completely true, because we are working with foreign partners on launch vehicles, and we are speaking to them as that. Rocket Lab, for example.
They are a U.S. launcher.
It started in New
Zealand. They are a U.S. launcher, U.S. company.
And now it's a U.S. subsidiary. But at the same time, we also have UK, we have Australia that we're working with.
Let me disagree.
All right, guys.
I don't think it's the case.
I wish we had more time for a debate. Honestly, if I got another 5 minutes.
I will be very happy.
Everyone will be around to talk afterwards, but we do not want to forget to give our fantastic happy hour guests a round of applause. Marino, Pablo, and Stella, thank you so much for joining us for the Happy Hour Rocket Show. And we are Ben and Meredith, your fabulous hosts.
I want you.
We'll see you up for some wine afterwards.
Please.
Thank you.